Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from the Galilee in Israel, and we're on July 1 already. Wow. Snow in Europe, July 1, amazing, huh? About 8:30 in the morning here. Kind of on the warm side, sunny, nice day. We were talking last night with some friends about the fruit and stuff, and I think the vegetables too in Israel, and we sort of came up with the conclusion that the um, they don't let the land rest. They don't do Shemitah or Jubilee with a land rest for the almost all of them. And the soil is leached out, and the flavor in the fruits and vegetables is sort of pretty diminished. It's pretty diminished, but it's still, got nutrition value and so forth. But um, yeah, the government's evil, and of course isn't gonna, pass a law saying you got to observe Shemitah year. They wouldn't do anything like that. So it's reached out. Um, the signs of the controversy over Zion and God's anger with the nations is really going all over the world, but this is not that type of thing. It's not delineated in Matthew 24 as the beginning of sorrows. They tell you it's the birth pangs. No, it's not really the birth pangs. It's the sorrows on the world, on the nations, because of what they're doing. The birth pangs are when the Israelites will clutch their guts and their face will get pale in Jeremiah 30 and they'll get scared. That's when the nations are surrounding them. I live here. There's nobody really surrounding us. Nobody's worrying about Lebanon or Gaza or Syria to any extent, even remotely approaching that. People are going to work, building houses, having children, getting married. Nobody's clutching their guts out of fear. So that's false church teachings. That's all it is. You know, getting fulfilled. We're not seeing an Earth axis shift or a grand solar minimum or an ice age or some crackpot false theory. When you look at these people that promote these theories, 100% of them don't believe in God. Some of them believe in chakras and stuff like that. Some of them convey messages from Michael the Archangel. Others say there's no such thing as end times and so forth. They're godless people that promote this, okay? Remember that. There's nobody other than this Levite Kohanim in Israel, in the land of the nations, in the Galilee, putting these pieces together. I haven't found anyone else doing it. There are some people, and they do a really nice job. They get camera clips of people filming floods and hail from smartphones usually, and they put it up on their site, and that's really nice. But they don't explain the relevance of all these signs. They don't do that at all. It's really uncanny. We'll go through some of the signs and then we'll try to work Bible, okay? Now, they're going to have to react when you see the signs I'm telling you today. Um, they're going to have to react, okay? Finland has lost 60% of their cereal crop to drought, the grains, you might say. Now, they're 60%. So with 40% of their crop, are you just going to experience price increases? I think it's going to be a little worse than that. Price increases will be serious. 50%, 100%, 200%, and they're going to have to import. But where are they going to import it from? See, it's going on all over the place. North northwest China and Mongolia, that's a region in northwest China. It's a big, big region. They're having all kinds of crop loss from a drought. A drought. So while we see flooding all over the world, in other parts we see droughts at the same time. And they have a rat plague in northwest China. The rats will eat the destroyed crops and stuff. Rats can digest a lot of stuff. Kenya has a drought. There's floods in Greece, serious floods in Greece, and Vietnam, and others at the same time. And Kenya and northwest China and Mongolia have a drought, as does Finland. And other places have droughts. Parts of the United States have droughts. Now, listen to this: Kansas, Colorado, and Nebraska, and there's another state I'll cover later, had a terrible devastation on their wheat and their corn. That's your breadbasket, kids. That 77 mile per hour winds, okay? Now, 75 miles per hour is a hurricane force wind, okay? So they had hurricane force winds, category 1. And all of their winter wheat was destroyed. I reiterate, Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, 77 mile per hour winds. All their wheat got destroyed. I'll elaborate. They had 4 foot high stalks of corn that were knocked down to 3 to 6 inches off the ground. That's kaput. The hail was up to baseball size. Okay? A baseball's 2.9 inches. And it's being driven by 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's dangerous stuff. And there's been widespread crop failure in Kansas, Colorado, and Nebraska. Bulgaria had hail being driven hard, and apparently a lot of it, and they lost 50 to 70% of their crops. Bulgaria. It's worldwide, not Israel. Yolo County, Yolo, I seriously believe this to be in California, had wildfires. So far, 4,000 acres are gone, and they have zero containment, and it's spreading, and it's dry, and the conditions are right. And it looks like they got another whopper about to begin. A fireball came into the Netherlands and exploded. That's a heavy churchianity country. They probably took note of that. There's now, or it was yesterday anyway, it's probably still ongoing. There was a 1,000-mile strip of land in the U.S., kind of from Oklahoma to Michigan, if you could follow that kind of path. 1,000 miles long, and it was maybe, 3, 4, 500, maybe 300, 400 miles wide or something, not very wide. And they took a lot of hail, and I think it's still ongoing in this 1,000-mile strip. And they didn't get just golf balls, they got baseballs, and bigger than baseballs. Softball size, which is 3.9 inches. They got big hail. Now we're seeing earthquakes in diverse places, but, you know, what does that really mean? I think it means in various places, okay? But it's being interpreted by some that it's going to be an unusual or odd ODD places. I don't know. It's the Greek. It's hard to trace the words, but it could be. The UK, the second time in a week, took an earthquake. They're very unusual for the UK. And it was a 2.4. And Wednesday, which is a few days previous, they had a 2.6. Yeah. Central Maine, which really doesn't take earthquakes, got a 2.1, and it was the second one in 2 months. Central Nebraska took a 4.2, and it's rare for Nebraska to take an earthquake. And Boston took a small earthquake, and that's rare for Boston to take an earthquake. Is this waking people up? Nope. A 1 mile long island has formed off of the Carolina coast. Nebraska had a tornado. Two meteorites hit India with a loud boom. I have pictures of the meteorites. Meteorites are not angels. I mean, people say those are angels. There's meteorites. In South Dakota, high winds with hail broke trees. Wind driven hail was dangerous. South Dakota. Montana, a supercell, as they call it. I never heard of a supercell until some months ago. 5 tornadoes, and maybe there were more, they don't know. Scientists, if you dig for it, you'll find it, are stating that there's a lot of volcanoes underneath Antarctica's ice. There's 130 something volcanoes, they're saying, that they know about, and they probably don't know about all of them. And some of the ones they're calling volcanoes may not be volcanoes, but the point is there's a bunch. And they're getting active. And they get active, they generate heat. And when they generate heat, they melt the ice. And what happens when you melt the ice? Well, the sea level around the world rises. And it starts eroding the coast, pushing into the shores, taking out the buildings. The rich and famous really like to live on the coast, beachfront property, right? The houses will be gone, the hotels, the beaches, the shops, the highways, depending how many inches it goes up. If it goes up 2, 3 feet, it's going to probably go, maybe take everything out within 100 meters or something, or 200 meters. It's not going to go take everything out for 5 miles. 300 meters. It's going to, wreck things. It'll wreck things. Because there's going to be tides and currents that are going to pound these houses. The base of the house will be underwater. It'll ruin the foundation. The house will be trashed. It'll be worthless. Insurance companies are going to take a bath. Okay. The fires in the United States are increasing, which is not a uh, great surprise. It's in the scriptures. Fires in and around the cities. I think I don't have the exact word. We got cut off. The week ending June 30th, there was 16,468 fire alerts in the United States. 16,000. That's a lot of fire alerts. There's a new phenomenon going on now that most people wouldn't pick it up. Soil acidification is an emerging problem in dozens of counties in where are they? North in Montana. Um, it's causing crop failure in as many as 20 Montana counties. It allows the fertilizer to concentrate in the upper level of the soil. So their Monsanto type stuff is killing the crops. The crops are going all over the place, guys. The letting the land rest is seriously for Israel, not for the nations. Okay. Um, in the last 24 hours, we got 759 earthquakes, calibrating at a 1.5 or higher. But going back a few hours, the count was 831. So the earthquake stuff is definitely kicking up, increasing. Today's big earthquake was in the southern Pacific Ocean of 5.4, which is in reality probably a 5.6, 5.8, 5.7. See what else I can find for you real quick. You say daughter of Babylon and they go out. They don't want to hear it. They want to make America great again and wipe their feet while America's leaders wipe their feet on Israel. Oh, yeah. We'll get into politics a little now. Abbas is refusing to meet with Kushner, so that's pretty much the end of the peace treaty. The, the Iranian axis, as they're calling it, is nearing our Syrian uh, Golan border. They're about 12 kilometers from Israel, say rough cut 6 miles, 5.5, something like that. I don't know, whatever, roughly that. Um, the Iranian forces, as I stated a few times, have now begun shooting at the protesters, yeah, even using machine guns. So they're mowing them down, a la Tiananmen Square. All the terrorist regimes will, when pushed, will do this. Um, it's going to be very, very rough for the protesters now. Um, they may be using their secret police or their intelligence, domestic intelligence forces to play roundup, go to the houses and drag them out and torture them, beat them up, find out who the others are, um, things of that nature. Iran is looking for ways to export oil despite the U.S. sanctions. Look, just what I said about them shooting into the crowds of protesters. Be advised that Trump will interdict the ships in the Persian Gulf catching them sending out oil. and that will economically start to break the backs of the Iranians badly. And they, I don't know what they're going to do. The USS Truman, Harry Truman, the aircraft carrier, has been pulled away from the Mediterranean, so Trump may have, in fact, given Syria over to Russia in return for some peace summit next month, or actually in this month, July, in a few days. The Russian submarine activity in the Atlantic, even approaching the coast of the United States, is up high, which is a fairly typical um, Cold War tactic. When you listen to Putin's speeches on the 60 Minutes TV in Russia, and they subtitle it, he's telling the people that the West, in other words, NATO, Europe, United States, and allies, are putting tremendous pressure on Russia, and they're afraid that they might invade Russia, and they want to stay independent, and they don't want this, and they don't want to join anything like the European Union or hook up with the United States. They want to be Russia, and they're going to have to tremendously and greatly increase their military capability, and Putin has begun this. Let me check something. I'm not 5G, no. No, I'm okay. The buffering could be coming from my ISP crossing the ocean line. It could be coming from YouTube. It could be coming from your regional YouTube. It could be your ISP. We don't know where it's coming from. No one else has been complaining. That's worth noting. There's 600 marches that took place, or they're going to take place across the U.S. over Trump's immigration policy. That's significant, but not like 3 or 4 thousand, but it's still significant. Trump called the U.S. immigration laws the dumbest anywhere in the world. See, they come over and they're in the United States, and then they will illegally get their family members in here, put them up in their house. They'll stay home. They'll do the shopping, the cooking, take care of the kids, and they'll work. Various things like that. And they've just been used to having America as an open door and doing what they want. And then they don't pay taxes, and they get social benefits. And, they never paid into the system. They just take out. They hate America. They don't want to speak English, and blah, 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 blah. How they feel about Israel, they probably don't even know where Israel is or what it is. Michael Moore says he'll surround the Capitol with 1 million other people to protest Supreme Court pick. So what? He'll wind up getting picked up if he pushes it pretty good. Oh, now they're saying there was, no, 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 that was some older one. Sabancaya in Peru, 24,000 foot eruption. Indonesia, 18,000 foot eruption. Reventador, Ecuador, 16,000 foot eruption. Uh, the Abeco volcano on the Kuriel Islands, 11,000 foot eruption. There's heat wave alerts going on in the U.S. It's the signs, the intensity, the frequency are pretty serious. What they call a blood moon is not a blood moon. It is not the color of blood. There's only to come one blood moon, just one to come. And it hasn't happened yet. And the way they calibrate blood moons, you get several every year, and people aren't smart enough to research what's going on, and they run around um, calling them blood moons and selling people books about it. But they're not the color of blood. They're not even close to the color of blood. They're orangey yellow, like a harvest moon. They take harvest moons and call it a blood moon. Here's an article from express.co.uk. Blood Moon 2018 prophecy: July eclipse will trigger the end of the world. And then they quote this guy Begley, who is a member of an evil denomination, the Baptists. Uh, he's saying it's going to be an eerie red glow. Well, um, not real sure we're going to see any red glow. Look at those things. They're kind of orange. And there's another shot of them. So there's only one prophetic blood moon that we read about. You know, it's in Joel and stuff. It's not multiple ones that keep coming and going. Okay. Um, Let me show you something in comparison. Here's some blood colors. Now, people can get into crimson colored like this with, bad blood or bright red, but, you're not getting that, you're getting these kind of colors. They're not, they're not coming in. Here, let me give you. Here, this Firewatch thing here, that's blood red. Okay, not what they show you. So, and it's more or less a one-time prophetic thing coming up on us. It's not. You see it every couple of months. That's not it. Here's the fire map of the U.S. What it looks like. Crazy, huh? Get into the world fire map. See, I don't think he's exactly doing that to distract people. I think he's doing it because it's a lie. And he knows not much is going to happen. And he wants the people to give up believing it'll ever happen. There's your South America. This is for today. Mexico is fairly well inundated with fires. South America is not doing very good. Africa is still terrible. And Europe may be parts of Europe got better. Maybe they're taking rain or hail and it's helping. And Australia's still got them, and China's got them, Russia got them. It's all around the world. It's not something that's local. On the political front over here, we're running out of Iron Dome missile batteries. They're deploying them, near Syria or up at the north by Lebanon and by Gaza. And they are now thinking they're going to use a laser device they have. Well, they've probably never used this laser device before publicly. And they're thinking there might be as much as 12,000 different kinds of missiles that Hamas has that they could throw at Israel, which would take 30,000 Iron Dome missiles to take down. These Sky Guard batteries, which I think are the lasers, would be a lot cheaper and save money over the Iron Dome. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. There's a big problem with that. I'm not sure. The number of refugees from South Syria is up to 220,000. Trump keeps saying this. The Saudis are agreeing to increase oil production. I really don't understand the full significance and value of that, but okay. And that's pretty much it. So the Gaza people are threatening us voraciously, very seriously, saying that the tunnel network is alive. Well, they lie. And various and sundry threats are being directed at us. Whether or not they're real, I don't know. But I mean, they're really threatening us. And the fire kites and balloons. The the word that we're getting is from a retired or an ex defense minister. Is that we don't have a adequate technology to deal with these things they're doing. So we're going to have to use what you might want to refer to as a less high-tech solution, like tanks and soldiers, to go in. And that will be a devastation for Gaza. And just take it out on Hamas and dismantle them and stuff. I think that's what's on a minute. All right, back with you. My experience with bad governance, like we have, can from anybody, anywhere, any way, shape, or form, customs, license fees, anything. And the more money they collect, the more they spend. And it goes to who? True believers? No, it goes to the witches that have the companies. And that money winds up working its way back to the people in the government that give them the contracts. somebody like me in Israel's not going to be able to go over there and tell them I want to get a license to go into exporting defense products. They would never give it to me. And the doors are closed for believers here. You're not a witch, you ain't getting nothing. But God doesn't want us embedded in their economy. It's a house built on sand, not the rock. When the storms come, it washes the house away. And the storms are coming. We just went through a whole list of them this morning, right? Fires are coming, volcanoes are coming, storms are coming, hail is coming. There's all kinds of crazy, unusual cloud formations with loud noises from the sky now. Crazy cloud formations and noises combined. That's different. Why are they going to not wake up yet? Why haven't they woken up? Well, if they woke up, what would they do? There's only one thing to do: turn and come to God. But that requires admitting they were wrong, and pride cometh before a fall. They're about to take a fall. They're not going to admit they're wrong. They're not going to ask God for mercy like we do. They're not going to get down and pray to God. They're not going to fast and pray. They're not going to do offerings to help the word go forth. They're not going to do any of these things. What are they still about? What am I going to eat tonight? What's on television? What's in the movies? What do I got to drink? Do I got any good, Thai stick weed I could smoke, or whatever they sell today? I don't know. Um, what am I going to do? Gee, I'm stressed. Let me get some Prozac. See, you go to the doctor and you tell him you're all kinds of stressed and stuff. The doctor's not going to care why you're stressed. Oh, you're stressed. What are the symptoms? Well, I have no appetite. I don't sleep much. I wake up. I can't go back to sleep. Bada boom, bada bang, right? So what's he going to do? He'll give you a Prozac Zoloft or some newer rendition of this garbage, right? And you walk around in some sort of drug-induced fog, and you won't be anxious. You'll be numb. Pharmakia. Pharmakia. What do they do at the satanic meetings when they get engaged in activities that are not only against natural affection, they're also grotesque and horrific and other things, possibly involving death of people and stuff? What do? They do pharmakia. What? They get high. They drink, or they take some kind of drugs or smoke something. That's what they do. Yeah. They have a free healthcare system here, but, every time I go in to talk to one of these doctors, the GPs or whatever, not every time, a lot of them, they want me to go get blood tests. They want me to go take medicines, take vaccines. What? Why? I mean, half the time talking to them is dedicated to why you should take some really harmful vaccines. Why is that anything I want to do? Pneumonia vaccines, this vaccine, that vaccine. Why? Then you go and they have surgeries here, and people don't understand the side effects of the anesthesia. In an average surgery, they give you 16 drugs. People don't understand that. Most of your recovery in surgery is usually from the drugs they gave you. Crazy. A lot of the Arabs that live in Israel love the allopathic healthcare system. They're always down there. They flood the place. And it's ruining their health. It just ruins their health. Israel is a very big vegan community, huge. And vegans normally are very savvy when it comes to um, doctors, medicines, surgeries, treatments. They stay away. Hey guys, if you could do the thumbs up on this thing, it's appreciated because it gives us more interaction. And that helps notify more people, I think. Um, that's pretty much what it does. Um, the people are not waking up. This grand solar minimum ice age stuff, it's really not taking off. They've binge grow stuff in your house and raise animals in your house and do things like this. That you know, most people will never do it, and the ones that do it, it's never going to help. Uh, what they're doing in Bible speak is let's outwit God. That's their message. Small animals indoors, yeah, they keep them in cages. They raise, like, I think, rabbits and chickens, little things, because they say that's going to be so brutal to go outside. The UV rays will be bad, the heat or the cold, and the freezing, and the crops won't be around. So you got to go inside your house or go build something under the ground, and you'll have to raise your animals inside. And then they're raising crops inside too, I guess hydroponically and things like this, or maybe they're actually putting potted soil in. Um, but when the grid goes down and they're indoors, how do they light? How do they get light on their hydroponic crops? They don't. They don't. With solar panels, maybe, maybe. Nah, it's not going to work. They won't be able to heat the houses. You can't do it. It's just not going to work. After the invading armies, first you got the revolution in the United States, okay? And then after that, you got invading armies. And then after that, you got the waves washing over the United States. So how are they going to survive that? They're not. They're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. And when you see all this stuff happening, your time to get out of there, where the Lord will move you to the land here, is getting closer and closer. Now, He's only going to move you to the land if you're in Yeshua HaMashiach. And I don't know who's in Yeshua HaMashiach and who isn't. I suspect a tremendous amount of you are. You wouldn't be listening. But you've got to search yourself and ask yourself if you're in the faith. I'm not, you know, I'm not the one to make those decisions. I'm checking social media for a second. Oh, it was a story about somebody who's got some kids in the military. I think it was the Air Force or the Army, and the military sends somebody to do a home visit. Well, they do the home visit for a number of reasons. They're probably going to put this person in a sensitive unit, and they're doing a security background investigation. They probably would talk to the neighbors and the teachers and things like that. And they, want to see the environment that the person grew up in and stuff like that. I'd say it's mostly for security reasons, or in this case, they were thinking of giving this one of these soldiers a promotion to a commander's level, which is like a sergeant or a master sergeant. It's not a commissioned officer, and they go to a school for that, and that's what they were considering this person for. So the new immigrants, their children can't get security clearances. So if they came to Israel and they were 14 or 16 or 15 or something, if they came to Israel and they were 5, it'll work because they can talk and track their history. But then they're still worried about the parents and stuff, so they may never put these people in. You see, they teach the native born Israelites that we can't be trusted. I'm serious. That the new immigrants are not trustworthy because we don't know who they are, we don't know where they came from. Because of the law of return, we have to give them citizenship, but we really don't understand them, and they don't. So you're not going to see new immigrants in the defense industries in secure positions. You're not going to see them in the military units that have security clearances. You see, it's just another form of their Babylonian system discrimination. Now, as I've said over and over, Netanyahu is the absolute worst leader Israel ever had in thousands of years, and it would be very fitting for God to end this democracy while he's in charge, because he's the worst of the worst. Okay? So I think that it's highly possible, I'll use that word, that the fullness of the evil of this democracy in Israel has arrived. I may be wrong, but their their evil is pretty full right now. Okay, the gay pride parades are certainly pretty evil. The abortions they don't even want to talk about. No, they don't trust the Muslims at all. No, no. Some of the Druze they trust, Druze, which are kind of Muslim spin-off or something, but they don't trust the Bedouins and they don't trust the Muslims. And the only ones they're really about to trust are the ones that were born here and raised here. And if your parents, lived here for 30, 40, 50 years and you were born here, then they're going to be pretty inclined to be comfortable giving you a security clearance. Um, but they don't. Look, they'll hire people. I gotta watch what I say. They don't. The Israelis don't really like going into foreign intelligence services. They don't like living outside of Israel. It's dangerous for them. It's high risk. Their families go with them, and then they have to grow up outside of Israel. Um, the food supply is different. The culture is different. Um, Now, there's a handful that probably go work at the consulate in Los Angeles and are very active in the Jewish community, and they send their kids to a Jewish school in Los Angeles. Okay, and then there's another handful in New York and Miami that's probably ditto, right? All right, but those are the ones that are not. Uh, they're working in an embassy. They're open. Okay, they're um, not. You know, intelligence people is a different thing. They'll go to work for a front company. Um, they'll do other things. Okay, and they'll try to conceal their presence and whereabouts from the host country, and um, they'll be running around um, doing things for the government, and they got to stay lost in the culture. So it's difficult for them to, or the culture of the land they're in. They can't just bring their families and, hang around the synagogues and the Jewish schools, and that's not going to work. So a lot of them don't like this type of posting. Okay, they don't enjoy it, and they don't fit in. Okay, um, not too happy about it. Okay, um, the ones that have the best chance of fitting in are the ones that came to Israel 10 or 15 years previously, because they're going to have their mother tongue language skills intact without an Israeli accent. They're going to know the cultures of the other countries, and they're not that cemented into Israel, so they might make it. So if you sent them, let's say they came from Argentina, and you rigged them with some type of documents so they could live in Spain, right? And they had Spanish. Well, the Spanish would be a different accent, but they had Spanish. So they would get around pretty good in Spain, okay? They're not going to take somebody from Spain and send them back to Spain in a discrete capacity, because they get exposed too easily. So they uh, they send this person over there, goes with his family, so they'll understand the culture reasonably well. They'll understand the language, um, and they can live in Europe much easier than an Israeli can. They'll understand how to go to the airport, how to go to the trains, how to take the buses, how to take the taxis, how to deal in restaurants, bars, how to go shopping, clothing, what to wear, what not to wear. The Israelis are too Israelified. They got a lot of problems with this. So, a lot of these undercover type jobs for various government agencies are going to be given to new immigrants. They train them and they send them abroad, but they pay them reasonably well. But these are not great jobs that the Israelis want. They don't want that kind of work, because it's too against the grain for their lifestyle in Israel. So they don't want it. Okay, um, and they're not used in this capacity. They just don't fit in that good. What they're really looking for is somebody that has superficial Hebrew skills, like an Alpon, okay, and has two languages like Spanish and English, where they got mother tongue English, and they got fluency at some level in Spanish, and they could use them in different places and give them a good cover story, and they're not associated to Israel, you know. And that's the kind of, so that door is open, but the intelligence jobs in Israel, um, those are highly desirable, and those require. Uh, they won't give the newcomer a security clearance for that. That person will have power over other people in Israel, and they don't want to give a new immigrant power over Israelis that were born and raised here. You see? So the yoke needs to come off. They're horrible. I know these things. Very few people ever talk about them. They're not going to be very interested in having a new immigrant or someone that's been here 10 years work in a capacity over Israelis. They won't pay them the same. They pay them worse. They give them less benefits. They take advantage of them. It's really sick. Okay? It really is. And the rationale seems to go, if there's security clearances, well, we don't know who these people are. We really don't know. And a lot of them stay here and then they go home and they go where they came from. And then they go home and they take their secrets with them, and we don't know what happens. What if the intelligence service of their host, of their home country, picks them up and starts leaning on them? What are they going to do? They're going to talk. So some of these people have a deal where when they get a security clearance, whoever they are, they can't leave Israel for 2 years after that work is over. Russia was doing the same thing to people over there that were, you know, you couldn't leave for a few years if you had some sort of a security clearance. So the thinking is that after 2 years, the information's all. They tell that to Israelis that are not really interested in, moving to Scotland. They want to take a trip to the Italian or French Riviera and sit on the beaches for 2 weeks, right? They stop them for 2 years. And in some cases, it may be 3 or 4 years that they don't talk about. So, there's all kinds of discrimination against the new immigrants, right? And then with that kind of discrimination, then you have discrimination with the Satanists against the non Satanists. And so it goes. So the whole country is all screwed up, okay? It's a land of extremely unequal opportunities. It really is. And, you know, it's not a good thing that goes on here. And this is it's going to come down. Um, they have a yoke on the neck of the people, and it's a bad yoke. 50% income taxes, 17% VAT, other kind of import duties. If your package is more than $75, they give you this 17. Let's say it's $100. They do it with everything. It's terrible, you know, and it's corruption. It's terrible corruption. So anyway, I'm thinking with all the signs that we need to see this eventually come to an end. And I was going through yesterday. Let's get out a good Greek interlinear. And we'll take a look at Matthew 24 and actually dig some word meanings up, but not just using Strong's, because Strong's could be vague and stuff like that. So we'll do it with another lexicon. Um, okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, it's Matthew 24:8, and it reads, "But all these, a beginning of throes." Okay, let's look at that word beginning, which is Strong's number 746. But let's not look it up in Strong's, we'll look it up in another lexicon. It says a commencement. A commencement, I think, is the beginning. And then it says chief in various applications of order, time, place of rank, beginning, corner, first. So it appears that the beginning of sorrows has some pretty decent meaning to it. In other words, the translation looks right. We'll see what Strong's has to say. But I guess the word means what it means. A beginning of time or space or series. That's what Strong says. I have a feeling the translation is reasonably accurate, to say the least. And are a beginning of throws? All right, let's see what that is. 5604. Okay, the word 5604, not in Strong's, or is it Strong's? Yeah, I think well, anyway, it's a lexicon. It says, the pain of childbirth, acute pain or severe anguish. Okay. So it's basically some kind of acute pain. Let's check the other one out. Maybe the other one is actually Strong's. I don't know. 5604. It's one of the last words. A pang or throe, pain, sorrow, travail. Okay, so it yeah, the NIV is really not reliable at all. I mean, that's one of the worst. Really, it is. Um, it the sorrows are the beginning of the pains. Um, when we read of get it out, the birth pangs per se, I'll show you why it doesn't add up to be these things. We'll go to Jeremiah 30. And we just start in verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah, is saying, Thus speaketh Jehovah, God of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken thee in a book, for lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. He's going to bring again the captivity of his people Israel and Judah. Well, Israel and Judah are not here right now. Judah's here. Part, saith Jehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. So he's going to get them to return to the land. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. That's Israel. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Yaakov's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Jehovah of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Jehovah their God and David their king, whom I raise up to them. So this doesn't sound like, I used to think it was the day of the Lord, but I don't think so. But the reason I thought that, it says, I will bring again the captivity of Israel and Judah. But Israel and Judah were here before the day of the Lord, so we know that. Um, For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. See, this is really not preached. A full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee. Yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So this is not anything that would be concerning Israel. The Israelis don't even know about these floods in Greece, what's happening in Russia, fires in the United States, the hail, the Antarctica. They don't know anything about any of this stuff. They really have no concept of it. So it's not the beginning of their birth pangs. Israel's not clutching their guts and becoming pale in the face. It's not it's not it. It's the controversy with the nations. That's what this is. It's a controversy with the nations over Israel, and that's exactly what it is. And it's nothing more, and it's nothing less. So to say the beginning of sorrows is probably pretty accurate. Now, what we covered yesterday, if that's the beginning of sorrows, where are the rest of the sorrows, right? If that's the beginning, where's the rest of them? It said there's a beginning, the end's not yet, right? So where's the rest of it? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? And I think we were resolving it yesterday, where we were going into Revelation and looking at some things there. And we, in quick recap, we're in Revelation 7, and there's four angels standing on the four corners of the earth. Well, the earth would have to be flat and not a flat circle. For them to have corners, it would have to be flat like a rectangle or a square. Is it a rectangle or a square? Probably a rectangle, but it wouldn't be a circular flat like a disc. That wouldn't really lend itself to that, would it? Holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth or on the sea or on any tree. Well, the wind is blowing on the earth now. So these four angels have not yet been tasked to do this. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. Okay. Saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 from all the tribes of the children of Israel. And who got sealed? Judah, Reuben, Gad. Okay. So, Moshe, what is this? we're believers. We follow the law as best we can, and we live in Brazil, we live in Japan, we live in New York. How does this work? Are we going to get killed? What is this? Well, see, if you don't know your Bible, you don't. It doesn't work. Okay. If you know your Bible and you go to Ezekiel 47, what do you read? So in 21, 47, 21, so shall you divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you and to the strangers that sojourn among you. So let's stop. So if this event in Revelation 7 happened and only the Israelites were sealed, then where in the world would these strangers come from to travel over to Israel and be grafted into the tribes? Where the heck would they be? Well, they wouldn't be, would they? So obviously, this happens preceding the Revelation 7. I'll keep reading. If this thing stops moving around, I will. And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you and to the strangers that sojourn among you, which shall beget children among you. They shall be unto you as born in the country. Among the children of Israel, they shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger sojourneth, there shall you give him his inheritance, saith the Lord God. They cut us off. Somebody is apparently listening to the messages and doesn't like it. Okay, so you will be coming to Israel and be grafted into the tribes. And that's going to happen before Revelation 7, or you wouldn't be involved, which is silly because Yeshua said he has another flock of sheep that are not of this fold, and that would be you guys. So, can you make a case that you come to Israel after this happens? Well, you can, but then somebody has to come before. It doesn't make sense. It appears that you come before. That's what makes the most sense here, okay? And the ones that are sealed, it goes through all the different tribes. So the tribes have woken up, they came home. Ezekiel 37, the dry bones woke up, they came out, they got healed, they got raised up, the flesh again, and spirit in them, and they come to Israel. They're here. And we have the land back, so we have room to keep everybody here. After this, I beheld and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations, kindreds, people, tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. So some people are getting killed, and this could be people that got killed a long time ago. Okay? It doesn't say they just got killed and came up into heaven. And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our great God who sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders with the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces and worshipped God, saying, Amen, blessing and glory, wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? And I said, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation. Tribulation is pressure. Okay? In the world you shall have tribulation, but I have overcome the world. Okay? Yeah, I think he says, Fear not, I've overcome the world. The tribulation was going on since the days of Yeshua, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
Therefore, it would have started after Yeshua the Lamb's blood was shed. Therefore, are they before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them into living fountains of water, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Now, maybe they come back with Yeshua with New Jerusalem. Probably that's what's going on. Okay, but we've got a lot of time to concern ourselves with that. Um, then we go to Revelation 8. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw seven angels stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came up with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand, and the angel took the censer and filled it with the fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, and there were voices
And thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Okay, now, we look at this, and we have to understand that I believe there's a break here in what the nations are up to. Okay. As we read 7 and 8 and stuff, we're not going to be reading of the tribulation with the beast and the false prophet. And we're not reading it out here in 7 and 8 and 9 even. We're reading of the Apollon and locusts with stingers like serpents and like scorpions, and which is where Yeshua told us that serpents and scorpions won't hurt you. He was referencing these. Because you could tread on all the power of the enemy, and the angels are going to seal you so you're not going to get hurt. Are you going to, does it say when the angels sealed the people, they looked in the mirror and they said, oh, look, I got the seal. Oh, you don't. You're going to die. Goodbye. Nice knowing you. No, no, nothing like that. The people don't know they're sealed. No. You walk by faith, not by sight. They're not going to know they're sealed. I mean, they'll get the idea eventually, but they're not, I mean, I should say they're not going to see the seal. I don't believe. But they'll know they're saved. They'll be shining and, different things. They won't be small. They'll jump out of the stall like the calf. All this stuff would have happened. So, in the beginning of sorrows, we see a lot of these events which we're seeing. Okay? But they don't really do the big destruction. What do you mean, Moshe? Well, I'll prove it to you. Um, the first angel sounded, and there was hail and fire with blood, and a third part of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. And then the second angel goes off, and the mountain goes into the sea, and a third part of the sea becomes blood, and then a third part of the creatures in the sea die, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. Then the third angel sounds off, and a star goes down, and a burning star, and the third part of the rivers and the fountains of water um, became poisonous, wormwood bitter. The fourth angel, and then the third part of the sun was smitten, the third part of the moon, third part of the stars. Um, and we go on into 9, and the fifth angel sounded, and the key to the bottomless pit was open, and then you get the locusts coming out. The sixth angel sounded, and then the four angels at the Euphrates were loosed, and enslaved a third part of men. Then it goes on in 21, 9:21, and how they repented not of the murders, sorceries, fornication, or the thefts. Then we get on to the seven thunders, which are sealed up. So these signs are different than the beginning of sorrows, aren't they? Sure. And these signs really, really devastate much of the earth and the sun and the moon. So the Matthew 24 or the Luke 21 or the Mark 13 signs don't really destroy the earth that much. Right? But they were the beginning of sorrows, and I think here from Revelation 7 to 9, we got the actual sorrows. So what are we looking at here? How do we do this? What's going on? I'll try to integrate the harvest into it. If you think you're having a hard time wrapping your head around it, I'm having a hard time teaching it. We're walking when nobody else has walked before that I'm aware of. I never hear this stuff taught, but it's there. I mean, where does this stuff come from in Revelation 7 to 9? It's not the tribulation. We're not talking beast, market of beast, false prophet, talking statues, some temple. None of this is going on over here. So I believe this stuff is happening after Israel is restored. And the nations still don't want to follow the law and observe the law. Now, it could be before the day of the Lord. In other words, this could be happening Israel's restored, but before the day of the Lord occurs, or doesn't impress me as a great fit. It could be after the day of the Lord, and they we don't we don't read of them gathering to attack. So maybe this is just a continuation. All tribes of Israel are sealed. For that to happen, we need to have accomplished, or God has to have accomplished. Try to get into the harvest in Matthew 13. Verse 24, Matthew 13. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. The field is Israel. But while men slept, and his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth wheat, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. But let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Okay. The Lord's barn would be in Israel. Can we call New Jerusalem a barn? Mm, a repository, a granary? It doesn't sound like it lends itself. New Jerusalem is a city, the bride, as they call it. It doesn't lend itself to being a barn. Now remember that you also have a harvest in the daughter of Babylon. So we'll finish this. Okay. In verse 37, he answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the iron. It calls it in the King James, the deception. James calls it the cosmos, the world, but I can't see it that way. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. Now, here it uses the word world as ion, which is it's a time period, an age. And the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be at the end of this ion, this end of age. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. Now, there could be a delay before that happens. And there shall be a wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine. Okay, that word is resplendent, to shine forth, as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. The kingdom of the Father would be here. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Okay, now, what we do also read of is a harvest inside the daughter of Babylon. I'll show that to you. In this particular harvest, the evil ones are taken out by the angels, and it says, they say, Where, Lord? And he says, Where the vultures are gathered. So they're taken out dead. The wicked are taken out. Okay? And that is
why you're not seeing how we bury the 2/3 that get cut off. You see the burial of the ones at Gog and Magog, but you don't see it here because they're taken where the eagles are gathered, and they're stored someplace in a, they're I believe dead, stored someplace for the lake of fire. Um, it's Jeremiah 51:33. I'll get there. For thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon, it says is like, okay, the is word is added. The daughter of Babylon, like a threshing floor, time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Okay, let's stop and understand this. A threshing floor is what's used to separate, and you all are grafted in and are Israel, and Judah and the lost tribes are there as well. So you need to see a harvest here. Now, this might be at the same time of the harvest in Israel. Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me, hath crushed me, hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. Well, there's some more signs. And Babylon shall become heaps as a dwelling place for dragons, astonishment hissing without an inhabitant. Um, Then it goes on in Jeremiah 51:45, my people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah. So you see, they're told to go out. Now, also in the surrounding countries, we read of them coming a lot from the north and the south and the east and the west, walking to Israel, singing and being carried in by the kings and the heathen as an offering unto the Lord. So in this particular harvest, the bad ones are destroyed and the other ones make their way back to Israel. So we can put the pieces together reasonably well. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same time as the harvest in Israel. These scriptures are pretty tough to figure out. Okay? They're pretty tough. The rod of iron is not, it has no bearing in this. Yeshua hasn't returned. So, the important thing to remember is you'll get out. It talks about the ships of Tarshish, um, and
It says you and your whole house shall be saved. So when the restoration comes, I think you'll see that realization. But in other places, we're told we have to walk away from families. So there's definitely going to be people that have families that are wicked, that are not going to make it. I would say it'd be ludicrous to say that. Maybe it references you and your family after the restoration. We could become like Job and have another family. It says those of you who gave up lands and family and all that will have 100 times more in this life and in the life to come. So maybe that's what it is. And he says he wipes the tears off our eyes. So it may be that the family members we get after our restoration are all going to be saved, not the ones that come from the evil days. See, we're in basically uncharted waters in a way. There's nobody ever taught this stuff over the centuries that I could see. The apostles probably knew some of this, but maybe a lot of it or all of it. But you got to understand the apostles had a distortion in the time frame because they kept thinking it was coming any day. So they really didn't understand the prophecy that great either. Paul might have had a better understanding than all of them. There's a lot of people that try to discredit Paul uh, because they say he advocates the law is done away with, he advocates this, he advocates that. He doesn't. They don't understand Paul. And the reason they don't understand Paul is probably they're not good students, they don't try hard, or the Word of God has no place in them, or I don't know what. But they don't care to try to understand Paul, or he's very complicated. As I've shown you, putting together prophecy is very, very, very difficult. Doing superficial Schofield prophecy is easy. It's all wrong, but it's easy. Doing real prophecy, as I'm showing you, is not simple because you've got to jump around. You've got to use the New Testament, the Old Testament prophets, uh, and you got to move around and put them all together, string them together, and that tells you the story of the prophecies pertaining to Israel. And the prophecies really either pertain to Israel or they pertain to countries because how they interacted with Israel. God doesn't get us involved in uh, North Korea fighting China or something like that. It's not a concern. Well, as you know, we don't do dreams here because we have no way of knowing whose dream is a correct spiritual dream from the Lord and whose dream isn't. So we don't do those. The people that post them on YouTube, you know, I mean, I had one come to me and tell me, that this one was a great man of God, self-proclaiming to be a great man of God, and said, "Oh, they're gonna, I saw it in a dream. They're gonna get killed with a nuke." Well, yeah, that would be Hollywood, not reality, because there ain't no nukes. Um, so It's very difficult to put this together. Like, how many people read, oh, beginning of sorrows, right? And then they say, well, okay, this is the beginning. Where are the rest of them? Who did you ever hear say that, right? Or they say this is the birth pangs when the UN created Israel in 1948. I mean, nobody was clutching their guts out of fear when the UN was creating Israel in 47 or 48. They were sitting around in coffee shops. You could see the pictures of it, drinking espresso and smoking the cigarettes because they smoked a lot back then. Um, Watching the oh, they didn't watch, they listened on the radio to the proceedings. Nobody was going, they're so scared and getting a white face. Nobody. Zero. And they tell you that was the nation being born in a day. Yeah, Satan's people did it. You see how they think? You know? They are sort of the whole system of Babylon, the governments, the false churches, the corporations, the media, it's all goes, it tries to hurt our faith. It's so important to them to keep our faith suppressed. It's unbelievable. That's what they're trying to do. If I did a news show or CNN or something like that, and I went through it and I showed them the scriptures and I showed them the signs around the world,
And I did research and I put the signs together, say for a 30-day period or something like that. And I showed them Israel and how everything's nice over here. I'd convince a tremendous amount of people that God is angry with the nations.
and this is beginning, but they'd never let that go off on their system. See, they've been taking solace in the fact that they control everything in the system. But now they're seeing God destroy their system systematically in ways they have no way to guard against. How do they guard against 2, 3, 4 inch hail being driven by high winds? What do they do? I don't know what they do. They can make aluminum or stainless steel umbrellas. They'll probably weigh 40 pounds. That would protect you if you got caught outside with the hail. If you went into a brick building or a heavy concrete building, you'd probably be pretty okay. But there's a tremendous amount of buildings around the world. Listen to this, that are made out of what's called architectural glass. Okay? Every big city has high rises built out of this stuff. It's reasonably tough and strong glass, but it's still glass. Now, if you take 4 inch hail and drive it with 70, 75-mile-an-hour winds into I'm sorry, architectural glass, will it break? I don't know. The stuff is usually about an inch, inch and a quarter thick, or something like that, or inch and a half. It's not 3 or 4 inches thick, as far as I know it to be. No, I don't think it's that thick. We could take a look.
Let's look up architectural glass and hail. Um, let's see what it says. Yeah, they cover hail. Let's take a look. We'll see what they say. This is an architectural standards society or association or something like that. Let's see what they say. Well, what they say is speaking the hail up to about 3 inches, going at 70 or 75 miles an hour. The architectural glass that's laminated, I don't know if it's all laminated, says it just breaks the outer layer, it doesn't break the inner layer. So if you start getting 4 inch hail and you get 90-mile-an-hour winds, well, then I think all bets are off. Um, what will the hail hit the architectural glass in such a way that the glass will break and the structural integrity of the building will be jeopardized and it'll topple and collapse? Mm, Probably it's possible, but I would think you're going to have to be looking at hail moving at a good 100 something miles an hour. I think the 2.9, the baseball size hail going at 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour, would probably severely damage any and all of this architectural glass. Um, I'm not so sure that the buildings are going to topple over so quickly. That kind of damage with laminated glass and coated glass you may not see. But what you would see is shatter lines in there, like you hit a car windshield with a hammer. And the cities and the counties and the states would basically condemn the building. Because how do they tell people go back in there and work? Because then what happens if a month or 6 months later there's a hurricane with 130-mile-an-hour winds blowing against that building? Oh, that building then may come down. Or what if you get a second hailstorm a week or a month or 3 months later hitting it and the glass isn't replaced? They can't replace the glass. I mean, they can. They have to get a crane and they have to get the glass out. Guys would have to go up and they probably can cut the glass out from inside with relative safety.
Um, but then they'd have to put it on, I think, maybe from the inside or maybe from the outside. Um, yeah, I suppose they could change the glass. Um, I think it would be ghastly expensive. But, if you had a 30-story building, you might have to change 40 pieces or 50 pieces of glass. I don't know how many millions of dollars that's going to cost, but yeah, you could do it. But the building would, I don't know if they would let people go to work in the building till the glass was changed. And to get that glass manufactured and changed may take months. Remember, the demand is going to be probably not just one building busted up like this. You might have in a city, you may have 14 or 15. I don't think they could safely leave the people to work in the building with the windows broken like that. But out of desperation, they may do that. We haven't seen this yet, but we are starting to see baseball size hail going at 70, 75 miles an hour. Now that's pretty frightening, okay? You start getting softball size, that's even more frightening. And if you get the cantaloupe, like 6 inch at 75 miles an hour, E equals mc squared. See, when you calculate the damage from a projectile, like a bullet, let's say, or a piece of hail, the it's not E equals mc squared. It's the velocity squared. The velocity is the most important part of the formula for the destruction of that will be caused by a projectile. And a hailstone in wind is a projectile like a bullet. Okay, this is the same kind of concept. So the speed that the hail is moving at is the most important factor. It's more important than the mass or the size of the hail. So when the speed goes up, the damage is going to be increased. Let's see what we can pick up on speed of hail. I think hail falls at about 119 miles an hour. Let's see. Um, a 3.1 inch piece of hail is probably going to fall at about 110 miles per hour. In Bangladesh in 1986, there was a storm of grapefruit-sized hail, which should probably be like 5 inch, and it killed almost 100 people. Some of these stones were 2 pounds. The bigger the hail is, the higher the terminal velocity. In other words, the speed of its descent will be.
Uh, they talk about impact energy or kinetic energy, and a baseball sized hailstone will have the kinetic energy of a 22 long rifle pistol bullet. A baseball sized hail going at 90 miles per hour will equal the kinetic energy of a 45 ACP pistol bullet, which is pretty potent and quite lethal. Um, so it's very uh, the hail is not going to be like getting shot with a bullet because the force is concentrated in the surface area or the face of the surface of the small bullet. So there's more force being concentrated on a very small area than you would get with a 2.9-inch diameter or width piece of hail. But you're still going to get, let's call it blunt force trauma from that. That's going to be equal to a um, a bullet. Now, if you're going to talk like a 45, maybe the analogy would be more accurate to say, let's say you had a bulletproof vest on, a standard police, 3A rated, and somebody comes and shoots you at close distance with a 45 ACP. Well, the bullet's not going to penetrate and pass through your body, and the hailstone's not going to do that either. But what the bullet would do with the bulletproof vest is cause a blunt force trauma on your body, and it could break bones and cause concussive effects. And I think that would be this. It may knock you over, and it may break bones. Now, when you get hit with a bulletproof vest, it's on your torso. When the hail hits you, it's probably not going to hit the face of your torso or the back. What if it hits you down here or on the neck or the head? Well, imagine if you put a bulletproof vest over your head and you had somebody come over there and shoot you with a 45 in the head with the bulletproof vest. It very likely would knock you out. I don't think it would completely break your skull open, but it might get you some fractures. You probably get a concussion. You see what I'm saying? So when you start getting a baseball sized piece of hail at 90 miles an hour, it's like getting hit with a 45 ACP bullet behind the bulletproof vest. Because you're not going to get the puncture you would. A 45 ACP is slightly less than a half inch in diameter and has all this force pushing it concentrated in a very little area, where a piece of hail at 3 inches has got the force spread around a 3 inch area. So it's probably not going to penetrate into the body. I'd be surprised if it did. And also the hail is not as strong as a piece of metal.
So that's not going to penetrate into the body. But the blunt force trauma is probably going to be like wearing a soft piece of body armor and having the bullet hit you, and it won't penetrate the body. But kabow, all that stuff's going to hit you. So we saw baseball size hail at 75 miles, 70, 75 miles an hour, I think, yesterday. So you got another 15, 20 um, miles per hour of wind, and then what do you got? Well, I look at the hail, it's baseball size hail, the pictures, and a few weeks ago, 25,000 cars got trashed in a few hours in Texas. You could look at the damage from the hail. The the people that are they take pictures of this. So you're the only one I ever saw that said you had baseball and softball size hail and nothing happened, because I saw a couple of weeks ago in Texas 25,000 cars got damaged in a few hours. So what do you want me to tell you? Normally it's very, very destructive. And you can go on YouTube and see videos of this. I mean, there's pictures of siding of houses that have been damaged severely with this. So, I mean, the evidence is there. It's all over the place. It's screaming at you. So I don't know what kind of an event you saw where there was nothing that happened, but there's loads and loads of events every week that shows you tremendous damage from this type of hail. We're even seeing tremendous damage from golf ball and egg size hail, breaking car windshields and things of this nature, killing livestock. So I would go back and investigate my facts if I were you. Of course, if what you're saying is really what happened, then you were the only place that it ever happened to. And I don't know why that would be. So the look, I've been through hail and nothing happened, but it's small hail. Pieces of salt crystals and things like that. So anyway, I haven't heard people talk about getting helmets for this. Um, Military helmets would be the best that are made out of metal. The Kevlar would break. Um, so they have the web suspension in there that would work. A football helmet would be pretty useful, but it could crack. And a motorcycle helmet would be more useful, and it too could crack, but would be not very likely to crack, but it certainly could. Uh, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from every person using this chat and watching or listening to this live stream. Depart from all these people and everyone who lives in the same house as them now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, we had to clean the house a little bit, huh? So, yeah, this stuff with the hail is increasing and it's combining with the winds, and you're going to see some pretty severe effects from it, especially if it keeps getting more and more enhanced. But when you read like Revelation 9 and stuff like that, they still didn't repent after all this other stuff happened. Maybe from there, and this could take quite a bit of time, when you it might be a continuum and go roll over into the tribulation. It may take some time to begin Revelation 7. I mean, we'll already be back in the land, we'll be sealed, we'll be living here. The nations could start out, the ones that survive Gog and Magog could be starting out, coming up and observing the Feast of Tabernacles, worshiping the Lord, and then they could decide they don't want that. They don't want Israel as the head of the nations. They don't want to see anything like this. They don't want to live in any world like this. They wanted to go back to the old way where they had their unclean spirits, where they had their evil, where they had all their wickedness. And they liked that. That could be what's going to go on. And then comes these things because the Lord says he will destroy the nation that won't serve Israel. Says he's going to destroy it. They keep doing the evil, they don't stop, then what happens? He sends him the beast that died or was supposed to die from a head wound. Who do you think whacked him in the head with a sword? Two likely. So the one with the spirit of Elijah, and the King David, the one with the spirit of King David. David was a swordsman. Let's not forget that. No. Yeshua didn't do it. No. So there could be a correction with the two witnesses and everything. And then they start up again. And God lets him have that beast back. Apollon, Abaddon, whatever. It's probably the same beast. Lets him have that back. He builds himself a temple up in Pergamum, Turkey. He has the stupid false prophet beast working with him. They get a statue going of the first beast, and the people got to worship it, and they got to take the mark and all of that stuff where they can't buy and sell. So people take the mark, and who can make war with the beast? It's a big deception, right? And the two witnesses go there to straighten it out. And at the end, when they finish their prophecy, they kill the two witnesses. After 3.5 days, they rise up in front of their enemies to heaven. And then there's a great earthquake, and a lot of them give glory to God. And then shortly after that, Yeshua returns with New Jerusalem. Now, even after the millennium, we're in the millennium. It's to the close of the millennium. Satan is loosed, and he gathers the nations to attack New Jerusalem and Israel. And even with Yeshua and the glory of God in New Jerusalem, with all its glory, they still attack. These are the children of the devil. They're like their father, the devil. The devil and his bad angels were in heaven, and they saw God in all his glory. They saw Yeshua. They saw this all. And what happened? What'd they do? They tried to take it over, get rid of God. And they got thrown out. His children are going to be the same way. They can't make it up to heaven, although with the Tower of Babel they were trying it. So they'll take New Jerusalem if they can, and that's what they surrounded New Jerusalem. They didn't surround it because they wanted to come over there with a friendly hand, a brotherhood. They came over there to destroy it and kill it and take it over or whatever. And then God the Father had it and burned them up. And what happens again? The same thematic, the same theme. The wicked were taken away first. He burned them up. Did he burn the believers up? No, he burned the wicked up. And he burned up the whole creation. And we went and met him in the air. Or we met Yeshua in the air, or whoever we meet in the air. And then we go to the third heaven and live with Jehovah, Father God, forever and ever. That was the last test. Heaven had already been tested. Those that were found wanting got kicked out. Earth has been tested repeatedly because, you see, heaven was one test because the people are eternal. It's the same people that are still there. Angels and so forth, I say people, but they're still there. The Earth needs repeated testing as we roll on because people are born and raised up and stuff like that. So the testing keeps up. Right through to the end of the millennium. So them repenting and going God's way is short-lived at best. It's not, the name is pretty bad. We don't need that. The name is the name. They fall down. They don't make it. They go for a little while. Now, Israel makes it. It says they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. because Israel is God's firstborn, and He turns His face back to Israel, and Israel's different. Israel is like His heritage, His firstborn. So things are different with Israel. Israel pulls through. We continually get tested. Remember, Elijah comes and restores all things. And when all things are restored, it will be shown to the world with testing. And guess what happens? They shall all know me from the least to the greatest. I will put my law in their inward parts. They will have a heart of flesh. We don't fall apart. That's the restitution of all things. And maybe one of the last things that's restored is the two witnesses, God's anointed sons. That's what the scripture says, anointed sons. At the bottom of Zechariah 4, at the end of Zechariah 4, go back up to heaven to stand on either side of Father God Jehovah. Yeshua is the firstborn son, but it says they're sons of oil. Oil doesn't have sons. You ever see, I mean, have you seen the epidemic in the Safeway and the Walmart stores? The olive oil bottles have been reproducing with each other and come in the morning and there's hundreds of olive oil bottles running around the store. Come on. Oil doesn't have sons. It's a sign of the anointing. These are his anointed sons. Yeshua is his anointed son too. There's angels, but he doesn't call them anointed angels. He calls them his anointed sons. So the two witnesses really wouldn't be angels. They're his sons. That's why they raise up like Yeshua did. Get it? He sent his firstborn son to get the salvation going, but to restore all things and get things ready for the firstborn son, he sends these two sons. And what do? They just get everything ready for the firstborn son, who gets a double portion, to come back with New Jerusalem. And they go up and take their place standing on either side of the God of the whole everything, Jehovah, Father God. These would be the two that are going to sit on the left and the right hand of Yeshua, but he's going to be on the right hand of the Father. He's going to have the seat of preeminence because he is the rod of Jehovah's inheritance. He is the firstborn son. He gets the double portion. He is the most favored, most honored son. He is special. Okay? Double portion. You have to understand that. God has an order and a sequence, and if you don't like it, go find some other place to go, not heaven. If you can just, all you've got to really understand is that all things work to good for those that love the Lord, and that He knows what He's doing and we don't, and just go for it. That's really all it takes. Because it always works out the way He does it. You'll be happier beyond your wildest expectations in heaven. So you don't have to, you know every little, detail, but um, in Revelation 11:4, he talks about these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Okay? And that's Zechariah 4. Those the anointed, it says literally the anointed sons of oil, but oil and olive, he's not an olive tree, neither was Yeshua a branch or a root or anything like that. He was never a gate to a sheep pen. These are figures of speech. They're not literalism, okay? And it's the same with the two witnesses. But when it says sons of oil, it's an anointing. And what they're doing is they're feeding the anointing of the Holy Spirit into the seven candelabra, the seven candlesticks, the churches. And these are brothers, also anointed sons of Jehovah, just like Yeshua was. And they ran with Yeshua. But Yeshua had the most important position. They were on either side of the river bank, and Yeshua was standing on the water in Daniel, going forth, it shall be for a time at times a half. When Yeshua was in the tomb, they were watching over him. When Yeshua left the tomb, resurrected, the people came in and they saw these guys. They were calling a man or something like that. They didn't know what they were. See, they weren't really exactly like angels. Um, there was something else, and they um, they stayed on either end of the slab of the tomb, like what goes on in the Ark of the Covenant with the statue or the image on the ark of the two angels. Okay, um, let me take a look at something here for a minute. I'm checking up some word here. Um, it says there was two cherubim on the cover of the ark. It also says there was two cherubim placed by God after the expulsion. Oh, gosh, this thing is giving me ads. Let me close it. I gotta open it again. I went to some Bible website that just started doing pop-up ads on me. Very annoying. All right, start over and avoid these spam sites. See if I can get some work on this without having to. Yeah, it's cherubim.
cherub or cherubim in the plural. Let's see something. Ezekiel 25:20. No, it's Exodus. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another towards the mercy seat. Shall the faces of the cherubims be. That's interesting. So it does say that they have wings. Take a look at Ezekiel's cherubim. These cherubim may not be the two witnesses. We may be not right on this. The cherubim that we're seeing in Ezekiel, well, they had four wings and faces, but does it say that they're cherubim? Calls them living creatures. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I don't think the cherubim are the two anointed sons. Let's go to John where they see these guys. But Mary stood without at the sepulchre, weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. And seeth two angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yeshua had lain. And they said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, I know not where they laid him. And then she saw Yeshua.
Well, and it says in another place, it's called the two men said that he will return in the way he went up. Uh, no, I don't think Gabriel and Michael were cherubim. It'll take. Um, we could look up cherubim in the concordance and see where it appears. I think the cherubim was something else. No, I don't see this working with the cherubim that well. Let me try something else. Boy, this thing's doing typos on me. I think I gotta get a better keyboard on this iPad. Um, so where is this? Where I gotta find this where Yeshua raises and the two guys standing there. I think it's Acts. That's why I'm not finding it. Let me get in there. Yeah, and while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye Galilee, remember that. Why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Yeshua which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come down, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go up to heaven. They refer to him as men, not the cherubim. They would know cherubim from the description of Ezekiel. Well, if you read the last of uh, Zechariah, Zechariah 4, and then said he, These are the two anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. Now, that's not what the Hebrew says.
That's your King James. The Hebrew says this. This iPad's misbehaving today. I don't know. It needs to reboot maybe. Got the wrong. All right. Oh gosh, this thing just misbehaving today. All right. What it reads is, he says, then said he, these are the two, and the word for two is shanim, which means two. And then it says ben. It doesn't say it. It says ben, which means son. Bet nun. It means son. Okay? And then the next word is yishtar, which would mean oil as producing light, but figuratively it means the anointed, from the anointing oil. So what it really is saying is these are the two sons anointed that stand by the Lord, and the word of Lord for Lord is Adonai, or Adon rather, Adon of the whole earth. Okay, that's where that comes from.
The two olive trees is the same thing. They're talking figuratively in the scriptures. You can't take the olive trees and all that stuff as literal. And the Kehillah or the Ecclesia or the called out ones are not candlesticks. You look in the mirror. Are you a candlestick? Do you pour oil in your head? And there's a little cup here that holds it, and then you light it. You're not a candlestick. Some have entertained angels unaware. That's right. That means they could disguise who they are. When they went to um, Sodom, they didn't appear as angels. They appeared as men because these idiots wanted to rape them. I don't think we read of Michael as a, let's take a look, as a cherubim. It uses the word archangel of Michael. And then we could look up Gabriel. See, these two are not really angel status. There's something else. Stop it. Gabriel is not called an archangel in the scriptures. Um, let's take a look. Well, that's not necessarily true. It says, I am Gabriel who stands in the presence of God. This is starting to look like maybe he really is one of these two sons.
Um, let's take a look in Luke 1. This might be that. But no, it doesn't. Luke 1:11 says, there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. But it could actually, the word angel would probably reference a Malach, a messenger of the Lord. So let's go slow. And when Zechariah saw him, he was troubled and fearful, but the angel said unto him, fear not, Zechariah, thy prayer is heard. Thy son Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and call his name John. Um, And the angel answered and said unto him in verse 19, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak to thee and to show thee these glad tidings. And then he pronounced them being dumb, not being able to speak. That's pretty. Um, kind of. I don't know what. Let me see. Yeah, I'm trying to. It could be. It's possible. Luke 1:26. When he sees, when the angel sees Mary, no, it was Gabriel, and it says the angel Gabriel. It could be the messenger. Hmm. This is pretty hard because they conceal this stuff so badly with the translations, and a lot of it is on purpose. Believe me, a lot of it. It's hard to figure this out. Probably not the two anointed sons, because it repeatedly refers to them as an angel, so they would be a messenger or something. So I don't think that's what this is. I think they're not angels, these two. No, I don't believe that. because of the way they rise up at the end. They're sons of the Lord, like it says. God wouldn't have angels take on a human life form like that. No, that's special. That's reserved for his family, I believe. So, no. It's a good theory. I mean, to say it's Gabrielle and Michael, but they're they're angels, and I don't think that the way the two witnesses operate doesn't sound to be angelic. It sounds to be far more different than that in a real grandiose manner. Um, it's seriously different. So I don't believe it to be that. No. Well, that was certainly an ad lib Bible study we got off on, huh? Um, remember that it says that they will no longer speak of Moses' rescue because the next Exodus is so great. Well, I think that's because the two witnesses are involved in this next Exodus. And that's, I got to give Chief and Yaffa a treat. That is, my, it would be that way. Um, so there's going to be such fantastic things happening. Um, the world's just not going to know, you know, what to make of all of this stuff. But you guys will get it. Hang on a second. I'll give them their little treat. All right, Yafa, come here. Okay, Chief. That was all that took. So, it's really hard putting all this stuff together. And, it's easy for us to say, oh, the apostles will have it, but they had time frames pretty not so good. Uh, no, 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 no. It's not that they will not remember the Passover. They won't speak of Moses' rescue. Um, let me see if I can find that. Google has gotten, their search engine used to be really good for finding scripture verses, and then I started using it on the internet, and then I don't know why, but then it started turning to garbage. And the things you want to find, it gives you the wrong things. I put in there, no longer speak of Moses' rescue, and it gives me the Exodus passages. Um, see, it's really gone bad. It's in Jeremiah, or I do it the hard way. Yeah, they try so hard to cover things up for us, make things hard to find. And they're just making their punishments so much worse. They don't want to enter the kingdom of God, and they don't want anyone else to because they hate our God. and he's going to pay them back to their face. He says he will, and they're going to get very, very, very scared when that happens, and nobody's there's going to be nobody to call on, and nobody's going to help them. Oh, this is so annoying. Let me try this another way. Um, it's in there. If you have a full Strong's Concordance, you'll find it. No one speak of Moses' rescue. I think it's in Jeremiah 16 or 23 or Ezekiel 20. It's in one of those three, I'm quite sure. So the two witnesses are going to change things, not as much as Yeshua did, not even close, because Yeshua brought salvation, but they're going to restore all things, and part of that is getting the sacrifices going. Ezekiel 37. All right, let's take a look. I don't know where you get that from. Let me check your reference. 37:14. Okay. It says, "And shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your own land, and you shall know that I, Jehovah, have spoken it and performed it." Well, that certainly has no reference to that. Um, oh, I read the wrong book. Isaiah 37:14. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Isaiah 37:14. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. And Hezekiah received a letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up to the house of the Lord and spread up before the Lord. I don't know what translation you're reading. And Hezekiah prayed unto the Lord, saying, O Jehovah of hosts, God of Israel, that dwellest between the cherubims, thou art God. Okay, so um, yeah, we know there's cherubims in heaven, but he received the letter from the hand of the messengers, which normally, I could look it up, normally means Malik, but I'll look it up. Yeah, it means messengers, Malik. Yeah, that's what that means. So it references the Lord with heaven with the cherubims, but it was a messenger that came to them. Uh, I got rid of them. It's all barely worth a toss. But B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command you on spirits to depart from every a person using this chat and watching or listening to this video, and every person that lives in the house with these people, depart from them now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Isaiah 37 talks about things going on now. Let's take a better look at that. I'm getting tired pretty quick, but let's see. I don't know why you say that pertains to these times. I don't get that impression. It's something that happened in the past. I don't know why you say that, but yeah. Well, they just come in here and try to antagonize, to distract and disrupt, and, get attention on them and stuff like that. You know, the chosen ones of Satan. Okay, anybody got any questions? Because I could see my energy is going away. Well, he wasn't talking about a spider. He's talking about a cross between a man and a spider. Well, it appears that there'll be some type of civil war in the United States in Jeremiah 50:51. It says, ruler will fight ruler, which is civil war. It appears they'll be wrestling for control of the Fed. It doesn't seem to portray pieces of the United States breaking off and fighting other pieces of the United States. It appears to be more of trying to take control over the whole kit and caboodle. That's how I read it. Well, there's a lot of secular people and people that are very lightweight nominal believers, believers, people that go to, let's just say people that go to churchianity churches, um, that say that the Civil War is on the way. They seem to think, and I think they're correct, that the left wing will be the ones initiating the violence and leading the charge. And if the left wing goes to the foreign powers like Russia, for instance, China, North Korea is probably out, or Muslim entities, and get support from them, then it could be a real viable threat. Now, if they get support from the Muslim entities, it's not going to be that violent. It's not going to be that, you know, effective. If they get support from Russia, it could be. Um, there's a lot of Muslims in the United States, and a lot of them have been hooking with Antifa and other left wing groups. And some of these people are really angry. Some of these black left wing groups are mad big time because um, they had a field day with 8 years with Obama, and they don't want to let go. They want to go on another roll. They're not finished with it, you know. Uh, they don't understand. Do you know how substantially damaged the United States is now
from in 2017 they had like $1 trillion of damage from storms and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they exceeded that, if not doubled it already this year, just in the US. And Trump's not fixing nothing. They can't keep up with the repairs. The frequency of fires is picking up. They can't keep up with it. They don't talk about it. Yeah, they keep running around with um, chemtrails and poisoning the water and the crops. But they're, look, they're poisoning the water. Now they're getting drought. They're poisoning the crops with the GMO and the Roundup and blah, blah, blah. Now their crops are dying. What they tried to do to you is happening to them. The ones that are grafted in are going to be getting out. They're going to be staying there. They'll never get to Israel. They won't go under the rod and enter into the bond of the covenant and come into Israel. It's not going to happen. They poisoned your air, didn't they? What do you think all these volcanoes are doing to the air and all the fires? Is that not poisoning the air? It is. They keep hurting themselves. They're blind as a bat. They don't have any idea what they're doing. No idea. Every day I go in and I look at these signs, and there's multitude of events in the US and all over. And Trump won't say a word about it. Trump won't say a word. They're inbred, they're trannies, they're crackpots, they worship the gods that aren't gods. God will deliver you. You just got to keep crying out. Oh, you got a fire up there in the UK. Well, yeah, they're complete nincompoops, idiots, morons, and you know, they're falling apart. Their country is. Trump is destroying his country just like Pharaoh did. Pharaoh wanted a peace plan. You Jews stay here, don't go home. That was his version of the peace plan. It didn't work. I don't know what if the California fires were intentional or not. I don't really know. I don't get into the false flag stuff. I don't think it's important. I don't think the United States has a good motive to do false flag attacks. I can't see it. I don't see it at all. They don't want a divided country with violence. They don't. That's not in their best interest. What do they do with their mansions? What is what happens to Beverly Hills and the Malibu and all these places where they have their expensive houses? What happens? They get destroyed and taken out. They don't want this. They want order maintained. They want the police protecting them. The police don't really protect you like they protect them. In Beverly Hills, it used to be you couldn't park your car after dark. There was no parking after dark in Beverly Hills. So the criminals would have no getaway car because the people's houses had gates in the driveways, so they couldn't park in the driveway. And if the cops saw a car in the street, they started an investigation, got back up. So it was quite safe. They used to get people for drunk driving in Beverly Hills, and the police would pick them up and drive them home. And they would call the station the next day, and they would take a cab to the station, and they'd get a key from the cops, and the cop would tell them where the car was parked. So you guys will be here soon. All right. Please pray for me and Rivka for peace and joy and good health and healing, and the Lord would show us what I could do to get better that would work, and what my wife could do to get better that would work, um, and that we get better, that He heals us up, and pray for our offerings and the peace of Jerusalem, and pray about coming over here and keep the demon tossing up and breaking the witchcraft of these evil ones, and offering information's in the description box of the video. And we do Western Union, which you got to email for directions, and we do Patreon, the monthly repeats. You can pledge 10, $20 a month or whatever. And we do You Caring, which is easy to use online giving. So if you'd like to run up some good fruit and be a partaker in this work, there you go. You got opportunity. And I don't, you know, I say this for so many that don't give. And, um, covetous is not something that's going to go a long way. But okay. Pray for more revelations, and that's what I got. And at least we're having peaceful chats these days, huh? All right, I'll log out.